I just gave away my meal prep strategy.
All right.
Yeah, so powerlifting.
Powerlifting.
I don't know. Do we have a plan on this one at all?
I mean,
notes.
we had some notes here.
I'm
Tim.
not doing it. So
That literally is the first
I
question.
think that was the first topic.
Yeah.
How's your non-powerlifting?
Yeah,
training?
that is it.
That's exactly the first
Yeah.
question. How's your non-powerlifting training
Yeah.
going?
It's good.
Great.
That's
It's
great.
a nice change of pace. For a while, I felt like powerlifting became my identity, and
Now it's Thanksgiving.
now it's Thanksgiving, and trying to make Christmas hams.
Yeah. Fair.
But it's nice to come to the gym and like push, but like not feel attached to certain numbers. And I don't know, it just feels like it puts less pressure on me. Like training could just be fun, you know?
Are you doing lots of comp lifts, or is it more like accessory based, smaller things?
They're like variations of the comp lift. So like on squat day right now, I'm just doing belt squat. We're still benching, and deadlift day, I was deadlifting, and then like literally just 2 days ago, I asked Ryan to take deadlifts out of my program because I don't know, they just
suck.
they're like super hard.
Yeah,
I'm
hard.
like, you know what? I don't have a meet coming up, so I don't want to do like really hard things. I'm kind of like, I guess the best way to put it is like right now, I'm probably not doing the stuff that I need to do to be a better powerlifter. I'm just doing the stuff that I think I want to do that like brings me back to the gym. It just seems fun.
Yeah,
Kind of
it's
like in a fun maintenance phase right now.
Yeah, but I'm also giving you stuff like your single leg work before deadlift. Not today or yesterday, whatever, as much, but like last block where you have like bowler squat, lateral squat, and split squat as like a superset.
Yes,
Like,
but that's still fun to me. Like I like that.
but that's, I mean, like, most powerlifters look at that and be like, that's fucking stupid. I didn't do that shit. But like, you think about like, we're working on your hips, we're working on your quads, we're working on your stability. Like, what's the like? But it's also like, it's a great conditioning thing because like, if I give you 3 sets of 6 of each of those, it's actually 6 per side, so it's actually a ton of reps
Yeah.
in a very quick succession. And but it's also not going to beat you up the same way that like front squats are going to beat you up.
right.
And like, yeah, and this will be my first fat joke.
What are we, like 5 minutes in? I was so proud of how well he was doing.
But
I'm like, he must be sweating over here not cracking one.
but being a larger fellow, like 3 body weight single leg exercises in a row is not as easy as some people might think.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're a 135 pound female, like that should be pretty easy.
Yeah.
But like
I know people will see me do split squats like body weight or like holding 20 pounds, and like I've had one person say like, you should load that up, and I'm like, I'm covered in load. I walked into the gym with my load. it's called 350 pounds.
Yeah, so it's
We're gonna need a disclaimer before we start this podcast.
but it's a different thing. Like I think some people don't understand is like I think push-ups are a great exercise, and I think a lot of people don't treat push-ups the way they should.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a lot of benefit to push-ups, and I find a lot of powerlifters that are very bad at push-ups too. But like a push-up for you again is going to be very different
Yeah.
than a push-up for me than it is going to be for like Leah.
Right.
Like you said 340ish right now.
Right now I'm 342, 343.
I'm 255 and she's 130. Like the weight you're moving, like if you're thinking 60ish percent, like so. I mean, for you, that's it's like doing almost a 225 pound bench press. Like it's like 210ish for you, where for me it's going to be 150, and for Lee it's going to be like 70. Like the percentage wise, it's wild. So for like you, like to see a bigger guy doing push-ups like that is going to be a little bit different. I think, and I don't think people always think of that because they're like I remember someone way back was doing like one leg 45 back extensions. She was like, "Why is this hard for you?" I'm like, "I'm 2.5 times your size."
I think that exercise is hard for anyone.
It's hard for anyone, but like when you weigh 100 pounds, it's not super hard.
Right.
But when you weigh 250, 350, like, and this is not a small table of people here, like,
No,
that
average
changes
body
things.
weight at this table is 300.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm contributing.
Yeah, you definitely
I'm helping the average
set the
a lot.
curve here.
The thing I like about the programming right now too is, I'm not saying you can't feel athletic or retain athleticism when you powerlift, but I think that gets a lot harder if you're a bigger powerlifter like me. Like right now, I would say is the best I feel like I can move the past 5 years, because like you said, like we're putting my body into these different positions that I don't normally train, like unilateral stuff, push-ups, a lot more core stuff. Like I just feel physically better, and I think I'm looking for that versatility right now, because like you and I have talked, like outside of powerlifting I'm trying to push other things like golf, and you know I used to like hiking, but like when you start to get north of 330, like hiking just brings about like super intense low back pumps, and like it'd be nice to do hikes again. So, and I think, you know, the discussion's coming full circle where powerlifting was like my identity for a while, and that was good back then, and I don't regret that time, but I'm also like coming to a point in my life where I want to be a little bit more
But it wasn't
versatile.
just like a sense of identity. You're like, you know, you were at an elite level in powerlifting, so it made sense to keep pushing that, both in equipped and non-equipped.
Yeah.
Right. Like so it made sense that like, oh, I'm just gonna keep pushing this. But now you can kind of back off, and like that's probably making you feel a little bit better overall.
Yeah, and I'm not saying I'm done with powerlifting either. I just, you know, my goal right now is I'm 340, and I'm trying to get down to, what is it, the 140?
308.
So 308. So I have another, you know, about 35 pounds to cut, and I'd like to compete at that weight class. And actually, it's kind of a cool goal for me, because the first meet I competed at, I was at that weight.
Oh,
I was
the one
I was
with the
308.
California one?
Yeah. So it'd be cool to, like, I don't know, it's kind of like an arbitrary goal, but it'd be cool to go back to that weight and see. I would just assume I would still put on a better total than I did back then.
God, I
Because
hope.
I did so much
was
wrong.
all for nothing.
I did so much wrong going into that first meet. Like, the fact that I flew out to California alone was just.
How bad of a coach would I be if you go into that meet and total less?
Be sick.
How nice is Saya that he called you elite?
I would have.
You are though.
I'd
Like,
be like, the last 7 years were a lie. He just made me big. Him and the other redhead, Wendy's.
I think that, well, one thing I think, doing the stuff you're doing now, yes, you're taking a backseat from like the main lifts and everything, but being able to do the stuff that you're doing will probably keep you healthier. And like, I guess like that's why we keep so much of that stuff in programs. I think as a gym, is we do a lot of stuff to feel better in life in general, but like it also keeps you healthier, which makes you able to train better, recover better.
Yeah.
And I think people negate that all the time. It's just, you know, comp lift over and over again.
The training always entailed that. Like, if you look at my powerlifting prep to my training now, it's actually, a lot of the exercises are the same. It's just the priority has shifted.
Yeah.
Like, whereas my main compound lifts would start the day
Yeah.
for a powerlifting meet, prep. I'd start with the compound lifts and then move on to accessories. And a lot of the time, the accessories would entail like things that we were just talking about, like body weight exercises, unilateral stuff. Obviously, we have access to like cables and machines, but now it's kind of like the reverse. Like, I start with that stuff,
Yeah.
and I almost like pre-fatigue myself, and then I'll do like a compound lift at the end.
Okay.
But it's kind of like the shift has, the focus has shifted to those accessory movements. And the other thing I like about that too is I can just kind of like crank through the workout a lot faster. Like,
Yeah.
I would say like during a powerlifting meet prep, you know, my average workout was taking like 2.5, maybe 3 hours. Now, like, you know, Dan Garcia walked in yesterday and he's like, wow, like, you're not sweating. Like, when did you finish? I'm like, an hour ago. And he's like, how long did it take you to work out? 50 minutes. Like, that feels good to get through a workout like that. And I think that's like part of the nice thing too is, you know, when you're in a meet prep, you're so hung up on the numbers. And with me, like, I'll use the squat as an example. I would take pretty long rests. Like, obviously I would need it. I'm a big dude. But like, I didn't want to not make a progression in weight because I'm gassed.
Right.
So I would just kind of like sit there and hang out for like 5 or 6 minutes. And I'm not saying like I'm gassed now, not gassed, but like I can just not be so concerned about the weight. Like even if like my heart rate isn't down, I'm still breathing heavily. Like I'll just go right into the next movement because like I'm not so hung up on the weight with these exercises. It's not like I'm going to be doing a split squat at a meet or a dead bug at a meet. Like I'm gassed throughout the workout, but that's kind of what I'm looking for right now.
I was gonna say, as like trainers, like how often are you considering like someone's like stature in terms of like building out their programs? Are you just sort of being like, well, and just take the weight as you see fit, or is it like, all right, this person probably doesn't have like the mobility or like the ability to like for me, I think one of the things we programmed often was because I was a bigger guy, I can't do pull-ups, so they're like, yeah, we have a machine for that to help you do pull-ups.
You need about
do that. Yeah, see, exactly. So like, how often are you considering those, or are those sort of like exceptions to a general rule?
No, I mean, the long-term joke with Tim is that I've never given him pull-ups or glute hams.
Oh yeah, I'll see like people get GHRs, and I'm like, why don't I get those? You come to my office.
I mean, you know, there's certain things, like again, most of us are coaching or competing as powerlifters, so I think like squatting, benching, deadlifting are obviously like the main thing. After that, the argument is that you don't necessarily have to do anything different. Like you could just do those movements. I disagree with that for tons of reasons that we've talked about. Like I think like keeping your body just not beat up and keeping it fun and fresh and keeping moving, because like I said, like the argument I always make with people is like you're a powerlifter for like 18 minutes a year, right? Like that's how much you're probably on the platform. The rest of the time you're training, you're still lifting weights, you're athletic, you're still a human, and you as a human you need to be able to do a lot more things than you do as a powerlifter. Like that was a big thing, like you said with golf, is like your golf and powerlifting so don't mix.
No, especially like. You go out and play golf, and people just assume you can drive the ball like 400 yards because you're big. It's like, no,
you can't even turn.
I can't rotate. Like I can't
do the one thing I have
like
to do
making contact with the ball because I'm just so big.
Yeah.
Like I'm like literally like running into myself trying to accomplish a backswing. I think that's a problem too with powerlifting. Sometimes, is, like you said, like how long are you a powerlifter?
Like 18 minutes
out of the year.
Yeah.
So like, and we've all had bad meets, but that kind of sucks when like you kind of like fully dump yourself into this one activity and like those 18 minutes don't go well. Like at least like I'm trying to create other hobbies that like I can lean back on, because I've been there. Like you have one bad meet, it's like, what was me? Like what's next?
And I think that's so like to try to kind of finish up your question was like like that stuff obviously matters. Writing pull-ups for someone who's going to struggle with them, like what's the point in that? We can still do other things. We can do lat pull-ons. We can use the pull-up machine, like to try to get better at it. But also just like how are we bettering like not just the sport but like your life? That's what kind of was getting at there too. Was like, it's keeping all that movement stuff in, and because like powerlifting it's so much about like building that tension over the 3 lifts, and so much of life is not tension. Like can you get into these positions? Can you rotate? Can you move? Like, and that's where I'm trying to kind of keep all that stuff in. And we've talked about this a bunch of times. And it's in like being able to do more. Like, and I think like with your program now, like you're not doing bench is the only comp lift that you're doing. But like you talk about how many people have taken time off from the sport. Like, or even just from lifting, and then people are like shocked when they come back as good or better. I'm like, it's not that shocking to me. Your body needs a break, and I don't think many people realize how like under recovered they are. And I don't really mean overtrained either, because like people could probably train harder.
Yeah.
But just due to life and training, like a lot of people are under recovered. And you take some time off, and you come back, and you're like, man, I don't feel as bad as I thought.
Right.
And then you come back better. So like having these, and like you're having stopped training. You're just differently training.
Right.
Like I think that's gonna like mentally it gives you a nice little reset. Like I said, you can do some things that outside the sport that you want to do. It's probably way better for you. And if you do then decide at 308, hey, I want to compete again, like it's probably not going to be that much of a negative. It'll probably come back super fast.
Yeah.
Because like that's the body's really good at adapting to things, and I think it's okay to do other stuff, and like you'll be fine.
Yeah, it's like you're taking a step back to take 2 steps
Yeah.
forward. Like that's the thing that I like about the lifters here is that you've given them longevity. You know, you look at how long, like Kate's a good example. How long's Kate been competing?
You and her did your first
First meet together we did that was 2014.
2014, so they'll be at 10 years this year.
Yeah. So
Like,
I think that's the really cool thing that GPT has going for it is that you create longevity for the lifters, whereas you look at other coaches, I don't think they satisfy that. I think they go through lifters within like 1 to 3 year averages, I'd say. You know, I'm pulling that number out of my ass, but
It's not wrong.
That's what it seems like.
I mean,
don't know why I'm looking at this. Like, this is,
Clearly, you.
what do you think, microphone?
It's not wrong. I mean,
please help me.
We had that conversation the other day. You and I were talking about like, wow, like because you're like, I don't keep up with a lot of current powerlifting, and like in any other sport, like if you didn't pay attention for like a year or two, the landscape would be pretty much the same. Like, oh, he's still lifting or he's still playing.
Yeah.
That's not the case. Like everyone that like in that era that we're talking about when we were like, I don't know, maybe a couple of years into competing, like they're all gone. Companies are gone. Lifters are gone and forgotten. Whole like tenets of the sport just disappear.
Yeah.
And that's why like I think when we see lifters come in here or we see them at meets where they're just like going hard as fuck for like a year because they need to get as good as they can as quickly as they can, and they're like a teenager or the early 20s, and you kind of be like, it makes me like stress out. I'm like, wait, just fucking chill out and like don't kill yourself in the first year. Like this could be cool,
Right.
but you're gonna make it so that you die
Right.
and then leave,
Right.
and then like I'll remember you, but
Yeah.
will anybody else? I don't know.
That's the cool thing about the programming too. Is like going back to the accessories. Like you're getting trained in all these different positions.
Yeah.
Because when you're in a meet, like you're just not going to be, if you're pushing, like if you're heading towards a true RP10, like I doubt you're going to maintain that perfect position, and that's where a lot of these smaller movements and accessories come into hand.
Yeah.
They treat you, they prepare you to be in those positions, and I think that's one of the biggest downfalls I see with the newer generation is they come in and they just want to do squat, bench, and deadlift. Like
I want to compete every time they're in.
like these don't get touched as much as they used
Yeah.
to. That machine doesn't get touched as much as it used to. These machines, like they just want to do the compound lifts, and it's like, even for like a fun standpoint, it's like God, I can't relate to that. Like I'm sure that's scratching the itch for them, but like that's not for me.
I think in the past year or so, I've maybe seen more of a push towards that somewhat. I feel like maybe a few years ago it was like SBD and that's fucking it. There's no point for anything else. I think it's maybe swinging slowly back in the direction of like, all right, I'll do like a lat pull down. Like that's cool, man. That's
Why do you think lat pull downs are like the go-to powerlifting?
Because you sit down.
Yeah. I remember like getting into powerlifting, like that was like the most recommended accessory for lat pull downs.
Yes, it's
Well,
easy.
I'll take that a little bit more detailed. I think when I started getting into this, it was so much West Side influence because that was a lot of the only information out there. You weren't like between West Side and Elite FTS, which is what I read constantly when I got into this. But there wasn't a whole lot of other info out there. There weren't like coaches putting out stuff. Instagram wasn't a thing, so you weren't getting this info. So like the info from Louis was always like, you know, hit your big lifts, whether you know, and like on bench day it was bench, triceps, lats,
Right.
bench, triceps, lats, bench, triceps, lats, and it was like, well, when you think of lats, lat pull down makes sense because it's in the damn name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then like I remember years later, like Wendler made a post that was like, well, if you're lifting raw, your upper back is way more important than lats, and I was like, fuck, like he's right. And then it was like, and like the lats, like in like this is something you could talk more to is doing some equipped, like when you're bringing the bar out equipped, like your lats kind of guide where the bar is going to go, but it's not as important in the raw lift.
No.
So in the raw lift, we just want like a big mid back and a
No.
big upper back to be able to maintain your arch and be able to maintain positioning, the stability of the bar. But like the lats are less important.
Right.
So I think over time, like as raw has obviously grown so much, it's like, all right, rows are probably more important than they used to be.
Yeah.
But it's weird because we still don't see a lot of people doing a lot of rows where we do. Like, I still try to give a lat pull down because I think of, like, back work, it should be, I think of, like, 6 angles. I don't know how off topic this is getting, but, like, a vertical pull being a lat pull down, a high angle pull, a completely horizontal pull, a low angle pull, and a straight up pull. Is that 6 or 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to 5.
Just inverted when you get back.
Yeah, I was like, how do you get 6? That's 5.
Talk about that.
I want to hit those 5 patterns. And if you look at your program, like, they're in there.
Yeah.
But like you said too, it also depends on where in the block are we. Because if you're near a meet, I'm less worried about pretty much all those angles except for the complete horizontal. And then off season, I want to branch out more. So I want to hit all the back because, again, I want you guys to be more well-rounded,
right.
I guess, instead of just like power lifter.
More specifically, do you ever see, and I saw this from one high-profile lifter, I don't want to use names
Say his
on
name.
this.
I know. I usually try to not do names.
I'm going to avoid names.
Say it.
But he would do a lat pull down, but then lean back and try to mimic the eccentric of a bench press. And it's like, I kind of get what you're getting at, but now, like, why don't we just do rows?
Yeah.
Like, you've turned the lat pull down into a row. Like, do you think there was merit to something like that? Like,
So we've used, let me rephrase, I don't use names for negative stuff, I'll use names for positive stuff. So Vinny DeCenzo used to come here all the time to the bench seminars, and Vinny would talk about, like, reverse band rows. So bands from, like, the top of the rack, row it down to get, like, that feeling of rowing. I like that idea. We never use it because it's a pain in the ass to set up. We have done it on the cable machine. Excuse me, where, like, you pull the bar out, and then you pull it down to your chest and, like, maintaining that tension. I think that's actually super beneficial.
Yeah.
But for, like, a lat pull down where you're trying to work your lats, I would rather you be upright and do it the right way.
Yeah, this dude was he was so big, like, he could literally bend back while still holding the stack, and then just maintain this position of.
It's a very niche exercise.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to be
It's
400
like,
plus.
I get what you're getting at. Like, you're mimicking the eccentric of a bench press, especially like this lifter in particular had that background in equip lifting. But it's like, there's rows.
Right, there's other options. Yeah, no, I think that's that's where things get a little bit weird. Like trying to turn things into other things. Like, no, if you're gonna pull downs, do pull downs. But like that's why if you can't tell for this podcast, we're at my gym right now. And I'm looking, I've got like 2 lat pull downs, a chestboard row, a seated cable row, a seal row, all within eye shot. Like, I'm thinking about using all of those things. But like, what are you using it for? What's the purpose? What's the reason right now? I love lat pull downs, but like, if you're a raw bencher, it's probably not the best one.
Yeah.
If you're a raw bencher, I like bench over rows in the off season because I think they're just a great exercise, but like, as you get closer to a meet, I don't love them because I want to not torture low back.
Yeah.
So that's where chestboard row, seal row, I think those are great.
It was interesting.
Yeah.
When I started powerlifting, and a lot of the information at the time was coming from companies like Westside and Elite FTS, and it was a lot of guys that had transitioned from geared lifting to raw lifting, and they were still using the cues that were being used in geared lifting, like you got to use your lats to row the bar down during the bench press. And it's like, when I started getting to powerlifting, I'm like, this isn't making any sense.
Yeah.
Like, it feels like gravity's doing that. Like, the bar's just coming down on its own. Like, I don't feel like I need to put more effort into bringing the bar down. But then when I transitioned to equip lifting, it kind of came full circle.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's where, like, literally, like, just to get the bar to touch.
Yeah.
It was a row. So I'm like, okay, that's where that stuff came from. I don't know if it applies to raw lifting. You have other guys claiming like they can't touch unless they have the bar loaded with 405. Otherwise, they have to row it into it themselves. I'm like, I
raw?
think that's there's one guy that claims that.
That's a problem.
That's a bit of a stretch. Yeah,
That's a problem.
Might be a shoulder problem. Let's
Yeah.
be like,
Something else is going on.
I can't start my bench workout until I load 405. I guess it's a good
That's kind of
problem to
cool,
have.
though. Yeah, that's. I would tell everyone that.
like, I mean, I know I've been in a bench shirt, you've been in a tent shirt. Have you ever been in a bench? Like, I guess I've only been on it like once or twice, right?
Yeah, same.
But like in terms of training that, comparatively to like a raw powerlifting program? Like, what are some like the major differences that you're like trying to build towards now that you're like, oh, I'm going to do this meet equipped, rather than like in a raw setting, you're just like just trying to get stronger. But yeah.
I think outside of the programming stays pretty similar. I think some of the things that you have to change going into an equip prep is one, patience, because it's almost like you're relearning these movements. Like you think like, I've already squat, bench, and deadlift, like I should be able to do these. Put me in a super suit, and I'm going to add a ton of weight. That wasn't the case at all. If anything, like I had to be patient and have more body awareness, because the eccentric, at least for the squat and bench, arguably become tougher than the concentric of the movement. Like with a raw lift, like I just hit the hole or hit my chest with a bench, not have to really think about it. With geared, it's like you're straining for like 10 seconds to hit the quality of the lift, to hit the standard of the lift. So patience is a huge one. And the other thing is having that team to back you up and planning it, because there are nights I'd come here and we didn't plan my squat accordingly, and on the sheet it would say like we're working up to a max of 850, and it's me, Ryan, and Patience in the gym. It's like I could die tonight. Like, there might be like Echo could be here.
Yeah. All of us got texts during that like
oh yeah,
he'd be like, are you coming in tonight? And I'm like, why do you need to know? I'm like, Tim squat. Oh
yeah,
okay, I'll be there.
Yeah. Like getting late into prep, I was like, I mean, stories with that is like you came in one morning and I was like, what are you doing here? Because you never come in the morning, and
That's
you're like,
right.
and you were coming, you're supposed to do like rap squats.
It was
and I was
Leah
like,
and someone else.
It was Leah and Salma.
Yeah.
So we had two people that were like 5'3".
I don't even think we put the suit on.
Leah's
Just
way
like,
shorter than
just-
5'3". I was like,
just
yeah, we
wraps.
can't do this. We just did
Just
wraps,
wraps.
and we did it in the power rack because
Yeah.
I'm like, they can't help you.
Yeah.
I was like, and so then when you were supposed to work up to like 865, like close before the meet, I was like, you coming in, who's coming in, who's going to be, and they're like,
Yeah.
what? I'm like, I need a plan, because I'm like, we need 3 competent spotters, and like, I need to know this, like, because it's, yeah, you like you said, otherwise it could get weird.
Yeah.
So that was important. I think one of the things that, like you said, like, I think the tolerance, and like talking about load management is all, like we talk about a lot, and like sometimes I'm kind of shitty with it, but like I think about that a lot with the equipped lifting. It's like you can put on that suit, and on day 1 you can go well above your raw max. Now that you've done it a few times, you said even you. I think you put the shirt on and hit 400.
Yeah.
So like you hit well above your raw max very quickly. But then the problem is if you haven't built up that tolerance for it, the next day and the next few days, you're gonna feel like you got hit by a truck.
Yeah.
So I kind of like started restructuring how I think about equip lifting, because so many people like do their off seasons like they're raw, and they jump into the equipped, and like they kind of jump in like they never got away from it, which is fine because like the gear does make you stronger. But like I started to kind of think of this like, okay, well, let's take your raw max in the gear for like a set of 2 or 3, which is still way above your normal raw tolerance. And honestly, in the equipment, it's probably easy. I mean, for you to you couldn't even do that in the shirt; it was too light.
Yeah.
Like for you to take 463 for a triple, you would smoke each rep, but it wouldn't even touch your chest.
Yeah, we're going down to like a 3 board.
Right, but at least we're kind of building up some of that tolerance of like the joints and everything before we start pushing it even more.
Yeah.
And then we'd start building up fairly quickly.
Right.
I think that's maybe the main difference is like it's kind of hard to push that tolerance too much raw because your body just be, nope, that's good, thanks.
Yeah.
But like equipped, your body can be like, oh, this is happening.
I think endurance is important too.
We're the podcast.
We're making a mess.
I
Yeah,
think
that's-
a lot of lifters I forgot who I was talking to. It was Luke. Accessories after equipped lifting. I think they're just as important, but maybe for different reasons. I'm not going to give you a number, but if I could do a tricep push down after a regular raw bench press workout, there's a certain weight that I can do. If I do an equipped bench session and then go to tricep push downs, like it's not even a matter of like my muscles are smoked, like my bones hurt.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't feel good. And I think not all lifters, but some lifters see that and they're like, I can normally do this amount of weight during a raw prep, but during equip, like, I'm not even close. Like, what's the point? And then they just kind of dump a lot of accessories, if not all of them. I think that's going to do you more disservice come meet day, because that it was arguably that stuff that probably gave you some endurance to keep going through the meet and not crash and burn by deadlifts.
Yeah. Fair.
I don't know what else you have, but I'm gonna. What was the weird trick? I know the answer, obviously, but what was the weird trick that helped your grip as a larger fellow? Because this might be good for some larger people out there that
Which, you were not cool with when you heard I wanted to do it.
No, I was like,
we're like, you're just deciding this new thing like an hour before you go to deadlift. I'm like, yep.
Yeah.
Could crash or burn or work really well.
And it worked, but like, so like a little backstory, like if you're listening to this and you don't know, like Tim likes to drop deadlifts, and it infuriates me. And we've done a lot of grip work, and it's really done nothing to fix the deadlift. Like the grip, we did a lot of grip stuff, and it didn't seem to help the grip at all of the deadlift. Mm-hmm. And then right before you're about to deadlift it, Equip Nationals, you're like, I want to try this weird shit.
I think that's partially true. I think there was one thing you changed with my program, and you came up with this, is you notoriously program the deadlift as cluster singles. Mm-hmm. Like, instead of 4x5, it's 20 singles. But one of the things you identified was maybe we can build up grip tolerance by doing more high rep, not resetting. And I actually had one of the best pulls ever back in 2020. I think I pulled a 10 kilo PR. Mm-hmm. I pulled 683.
Yeah.
So I think you recognize that, but the thing that helped me get from 683 to 689 at Equip Nationals was watching other big dudes dunk their hands into buckets of ice to reduce the swelling, because after Equip bench, I have big hands, but it literally looked like I walked out of Chernobyl after Equip bench. I'm like, my hands are radiating. They're changing different shades of color, and they're twice the size they normally would be. And I just saw another big guy, and he had his hands in buckets of ice, and I'm like, do you think that actually works? He's like, I know it works. He swore by those buckets. So Leah was in the back room helping us, and I was like, Leah, I need buckets of ice. She comes back with 2 bags. They're melting. The second I put my hands in them, just steam just hit my face. I'm like, you know what? This might work. And it did. I pulled a PR, an all-time deadlift PR.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
the grip was not even close to an issue.
The grip wasn't an issue. If anything, I almost missed it due to a lockout.
Yeah.
My hips not coming through. But my grip, never felt better, which is crazy because my hands would have arguably been more shot after a full equip day than a full raw day.
So is that only something you find benefit only after benching equipped? Or would you do it raw?
I'm sure I have some swelling after a raw bench, especially on meet day, but it's not to the same level as equipped. Okay. So there might be merit to trying it on a raw meet day, but I don't know.
I would think yes, but just probably not to the same place.
I don't think I would get the same level of benefit as I would after equip benching. Okay. So,
the next level is doing a full ice bath after every lift.
Leah, ice bath! Now!
Just in the corner in between attempts.
Every attempt.
Here comes Tim.
Where's the Espen salts?
Tim is just soaking wet on every.
Why is he wet on every lift?
Why is he so wet?
That's normal.
Why is the steam rating off him every time?
Look at this pretentious douche. He got his own bathtub to equip that.
Oh, that's the new carpet thing. You bring a bathtub every time.
Well, I mean, this is gonna as a fucking stupid question.
Yeah,
but
we're
I don't know how to make Christmas stamps. All right, if you've been dying to ask me that.
Are there? I guess this is one of those things that an odd thing that works. Are there any other examples of I saw this one person do this one thing in the back room, or somewhere else, and be you know what, I need to try that. It just works amazingly.
Cool.
You know what I didn't do is I watch people take their clothes off before they put their gear on. I don't like to do that. I don't know if I can talk about that. Next topic, please.
I don't know. I don't think
He's so
anything can top
disappointed
that.
right now.
Yeah. I don't know.
The meet's,
There was a time I went to another gym.
the meet's over. They can't take it away from you.
True. There was a time I went to another gym, SMG. You guys had Mike on a couple weeks ago. Little shout out. I went to his gym because it would have been too late for me to get here. So I went there, did an equip bench shirt workout. I sent him the video, and he's like, "Never train anywhere in here but here again." I'm like, "Why?" He's like, "You're not to be trusted. What did you do wrong in that video?" And I'm like, "I don't know." He's like, "You're wearing a fucking t-shirt underneath the bench shirt." I'm like, "Oh yeah, I guess you're not supposed to do that. My bad." There was another time. I'm notorious for like having an equip day and just not bringing my gear, and he had gotten so mad at me the last time, like something else happened that day that made him mad. He had to go out to his car and like stew a bit. So I was like, the second time I did it, I pulled in the parking lot and I realized I forgot it. And last time he was like this close to killing me, and I'm like, and I drive an hour to get here, so I pulled in, realized I didn't have my gear, and I'm like, guess I'm not working out. If I walk in there, he will kill me. He's got a liter of ketamine with my name on it.
That happened a few times.
Yeah. Our relationship really peaks when I'm in an equip prep.
Yeah, that's
That's why you stopped lifting equipment.
There's some highs and there's some lows.
Equip changes things a lot.
Ryan, how's your stress levels when people are all like, "Oh, I want to try Equip"?
Yeah, that's actually. I think that's a good question. Do you like? All joking aside,
Oh, there's a ghost.
Podcast
Bad
over.
sign, dude. We're done.
I know you say you enjoy coaching all powerlifting, but you really like equip lifting too. Do you think that there's more stress involved? And if there is, do you find ways to
As a coach,
like to work around that?
I think the biggest
And it's not rhetorical. I'm genuinely curious.
I think the biggest one last year was at Equip Nats. Is like I said, thank God you were last, because after wrapping your knees, if I had to wrap Leah and Kate after you, I'm not sure I physically could have. Wrapping them first was much easier. And I remember asking one of my buddies, I was like, "How do you wrap so many people?" He's like, "I don't. I have helpers here." And I was like, "Excellent. That's what I fucked up. All right." And like I remember like my arms just being like, "Oh my God, I'm so beat up right now."
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean like I do like the coaching equip because there's so many more variables. I've said a couple times to a few people like I wish more people like even if you don't get into it, that's fine. But like how you guys at least tried it. I think there's something to be said for trying it and understanding. Like anyone from the gym that hears this, let me wrap your knees. I just want everyone to understand what that feels like.
Don't do it.
Because like people just assume you put the gear on and it's like, oh look at the they're gonna like let me wrap your knees so you can't even walk out the bar.
Yeah.
And then let me wrap your knees so it feels better than your squat time. But I wish people would try that more just so they can get a feel for it. But like no, I think for me like yeah, like little things like for equip coaches might sound silly, but like those gloves that I wear now for mostly for the bench shirt to help you get on. They're like a little sticky. They're kind of like gardening gloves that have like some grip to them, and they save the skin on my fingers from just like holding the shirt in place while you're trying to swim through it, and then my skin just gets ripped to shreds and I'm bleeding. So the gloves kind of help with that. That's a nice bonus.
So I guess
not
from like
bleeding on everybody.
Yeah, from a physical standpoint, there's like literally more stress. I mean, like you wouldn't be bleeding from the hands if you were doing a raw prep.
And wrapping is like wrapping early on in this cycle is fairly easy, but like wrapping your knees at nationals, I was tired. Like I wrapped your third attempt and I was like, I need a break.
Big dude.
Like, so that's tough. Mentally, it's a different thing because like raw, I'm very certain that you're going to hit attempts all the time. Like I'm not worried about you missing because like I have a pretty good idea on math and where you're at and how we can call numbers. On equipped, I have an idea, and that often just goes to shit mid-workout. And not because like we plan poorly, but just like things go weird. Like I mean, I think we went way off once, and that's like when you hit 705 with the 2 board. We weren't supposed to do that. But, like, you were just smoking stuff that day, so we were just like, let's go up.
Right.
And I think that needs to happen more in equipped because, like, on those days that it's, like, really dialed in, you got to push that more. So, like, yeah, the mental stress is, like, is this rep going to happen? Am I going to peel it off your face? Is your suit going to blow out and all of us are going to die when you dump 900 on us? That's more stressful, but it's also like, and you've said this with the lifting, it's also like a little bit more adrenaline driven, where it's like you get under it and you're like, I might die.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more exciting.
Right.
And I think that kind of helps with the stress of it is like, it amps me up too.
Yeah.
Because like it's something I have to be a better level for you too. Because if you're gonna go squat 865,
yes,
and I wrap your knees like shit,
right,
you're not squatting 865 because the suit and the wraps together are what's helping you. And if I don't give you the good wrap, then the suit's not gonna help you enough. So I have to be on my game too, which I think is, like you said, it's stressful, but it's also like exciting.
That's kind of what I was getting at. The reason why, I wasn't asking rhetorically is you have that confidence, whether I'm in a raw prep or equipped prep, like the confidence is still there.
Yeah.
Maybe you have to mask it, I don't know, but it's better for me that you are that way, especially like with the quality of the lift. Like he would know I would struggle to hit depth, and like I would start getting in my head like maybe I shouldn't do this meet because I've had 5 days in a squat suit and I haven't hit depth any of those days. And I would go to him like, hey, I'm like, the standard of the lift is not there. And he's like, you're fine. Stop worrying about it. Like just very, very,
great liar.
Very stonewall, very, I don't want to say cold, but like, like stoic in his response. And I think I needed that confidence because if he was like, yeah, you look like shit. This is not a good idea. Like, but then I go and I still do well. It's like, so that was the nice thing of having that working relationship is that you still brought that confidence to the table. That like if it wasn't there, like, I don't know if I would have done equipped lifting as long as I did.
Yeah, I think part of that's just knowing when to be like you're fine and knowing when to be like we need to work on this.
So I feel like a lot of newer coaches would see. Probably not understand the equipped lifting because like it's kind of hard to see lifters lifting equipped nowadays, but also just not understanding that sometimes I tell people in an equipped meet prep sometimes we're not concerned about progressing the weight on the bar, we're just progressing the standard of the lift. And a newer coacher may see that you're not hitting depth over and over again and be like, I don't know if this is it, this may not be your meet, maybe we shouldn't do it.
Probably a reason that we don't see a lot of DM for coaching for equipped lifting. It's a lot of it's a standard that a lot more things going to go wrong.
We only see DMs for achieving your dreams.
Yes, sure. You can only DM in your dreams.
Do you coach any equipped lifters?
No, I mean I've like tried to soak everything I
you're
can
stoked
from
fuck
you guys.
Too. I think you'd be great.
Sick. Hire me. I don't give a fuck. But like I was gonna say it's funny because when a lot of the core equipped group that was here did it together, and I think I even joked. I think like Kate and Emily were sitting and getting ready for their bench. I'm like, you guys are really fucking relaxed.
Yeah.
And I was like, usually like I'm not that they're like crazy friend people, but like the people that are lifting equipped, like the competitors, on most cases I feel like are just fucking relaxed. Probably because
different vibe.
It's a very different vibe, but it was just I don't know funny to like notice the distinct difference between the raw lifters who were frantically pacing back and forth over like nothing, and compared to people that are going to load hundreds of more pounds than their body can actually take.
Is that really what you think? Yeah.
That many times
because
here.
I'd be shitting my pants.
But like it's internal.
Yes.
Well, first off, physically you can't be pacing in the back room because
Yes.
that doesn't allow you to do it. Also, physically, I'm like sit your ass down because I'm gonna have to wrap your knees.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, and I think that the gear takes so much out of you that like after that lift you want to go sit down.
Yeah.
No, but like you're not right. Like several lifters have said like they do feel surprisingly more calm on meet day equipped, because I think as you're talking about the standard of the lift, it almost becomes acceptable when things don't go as well, which is not what I'm looking for. I want it to still be a 9 for 9 day and things go well. I mean, like if we think, I mean, like you went 8 for 9 at Equip Nats because we 8 for 8 because you passed on the bench.
Correct.
So 8 for 8 because we passed on the third bench. So like when people are thinking, oh, you're only going to go 6 for 9 because it's equipped, 8 for 8. You definitely would have missed the third bench. So that's, you know. But like you didn't miss a lift that day. Now the argument can be like, yeah, you.
No, I'm sorry, I missed my first bench.
Oh, you did. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You missed your first bench, and
I
then
forgot.
we went up.
I was like, you know, it'd be cool. Let's skull crush.
Yeah.
6'11".
I remember, and people like afterwards like, you went up. I'm like, he'll be fine. And then the second one was fine. Not fine. It was the second one was an RPE 10, and that's what we called it. But like, but yeah, I think it becomes more acceptable if like if you're gonna, you can have a little bit of a weird day and it's fine, and you can have a weird day and still actually do really well.
Yeah.
Where like raw, like when you're missing lifts, it's kind of like, what are you doing? Like,
right.
You know,
a 3 for 9 raw day is horrible.
Yeah, you like. I expect most of the time, like, I know I like Matt Gary's thing of like 6 for 9 upholding the standard, but like in bench, I think in raw, like, I think you need to be higher than that. Like, you know, there's statistics that show how much, like, if you miss your third squat, you're gonna more likely to miss your third deadlift. I'm like, I think you got to be 7 or 8 for 9 in raw, like, pretty regularly. Like 9 for 9, like, it's fine. That's great. There's nothing wrong with it. But like, as long as it's like, you can go 9 for 9, not even try. But like equip, like you're not going to bomb out really in raw unless things go massively wrong. But like in equipped, like you might.
Good chance.
And I think like for a lot of lifters, that you kind of get over that real fast, of like the fear of it, because like it is what it is.
Yeah.
And you'll do it again.
You have to have it happen.
Yeah.
For you to like, it's easy to say it won't upset you, and then it happens, and I mean, it upset me when I bombed out. So. It's true. I mean, a lot of equipped lifters have said that, you know, they would still have a good day even if they bombed out. You know, it all depends on your perspective. Like, how did the other 2 lifts go?
Yeah.
Maybe less is out of your control. I mean, there's more things that you have to think of controlling, but maybe kind of the view is like, well, like, there's a lot of things that could go wrong. I'm not going to freak about every single one.
I'm surprised you didn't get more involved with it, because you've always been a big advocate of team training.
Yeah, I do like that aspect of it a lot.
Like, that is where the team aspect really comes back into play with equip lifting. It's very communal.
Yeah.
Like, I think one it's very niche, so like the people that do it get closer by default, and 2, like, in a literal sense, like, you just need the help from others.
Right.
Like, I could not have done some of the days I did here without some of the lifters that were willing to help. Like, you know, Dave Couchon comes to mind, and a few others. Dan Garcia, like, they would literally come down on days that they had no intent on training to help, which is awesome. Like, so that's why if you want to get into equip lifting, make sure you find a community-oriented gym like this one. Otherwise, I don't. Unless you're Blaine Sumner, he figured it out.
Some do,
But it's very
rare.
few.
Yeah,
that's a big difference. And it's tough because I think one of the, we've talked about this before, the growth of raw is that you can do it by yourself. You can do it in your basement gym. You can do it at your home gym. You can do it at a commercial gym.
Yeah.
Like, it's fine. You can do that pretty much anywhere. You can do equipped here. You can do equipped at a few other gyms. Right. There's not a whole lot of places that you can do equipped, and like, a lot of places would throw you out.
Probably.
Like, they would like, oh, we don't want to deal with this. You know, like, get out. So like that changes the game a lot too. So I think that's a big one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably I think one of the biggest positives you can pull out of that, and I wish people saw that aspect of it. Is, you're right, like sometimes when you guys are like, I really want to do this, and I think for me it was just like, I more so want to learn from a coaching perspective and like soak up the things he's doing, which I probably could have done while being in Swazi, but I think that is kind of a draw to, where it was like, maybe that's how I started training raws with a group, and like when the equip started getting bigger here, I'm like, oh, this is what I was used to,
right?
And it's cooler, but
But I think it's tough too, because like if you want to do equipped, like I said to someone the other day, like they asked me if equipped has a carryover to raw, and I said I believe so. I said, but if you're going to do equipped to just to carry over to raw, there's better ways to do that.
Yeah.
Don't waste your time.
Yeah.
I said, if you're gonna get into the gear, at first and foremost, try it. That's it. But then like you probably have to just pick a meet and do a meet and gear, and see if you like it or not. And if you don't like it, that's fine.
Yeah.
But like, what if you like it a lot, and you're like, you know what, this is what I really want to do. But the problem is like, if you're a raw lifter and you're like, man, I got to spend the next like 6 months learning this shit,
Right.
and you're worried about how it's going to take away from your raw lifts, then that's a problem. Now, if you think of it more like in the mindset of like the way that I coach at least is like we're still doing a lot of our training raw, and we can build up certain things. Like you're not going to have like Leah mentioned like recently, like she did equip nats last year, and she's now raw squatting more than she equip squatted last year. Now she hasn't been in the gear for a while because she is focusing on a couple raw meets, but if she got back into the gear with that new raw strength, she's going to just squat more.
Yeah.
So like there's a benefit to like both sides, but like you have to kind of, if you want to try this other than more than just be like, let me get in the shirt one night, you have to be like, okay, well, the next 4 to 6 months I'm going to dive in.
Right.
And I think a lot of people it's weird because it's like they're committing to all this raw stuff, but the commitment to the gear is like too much.
Yeah, I've been asked that if people who didn't want to do equip lifting, should they use specifically single ply gear to improve their raw lifts? I like overload training. I think there's some merit to it, especially for lifters that may not have confidence in themselves with higher weights. So use things like a slingshot or maybe like a heavy walkout for a squat, like things that still mimic the raw lifts. With equip lifting, I think it's still the big three, but they're just gonna feel different.
Yeah.
You know, you're gonna have to use different techniques. I mean, literally the walkout for the squat alone, like I know some lifters have an issue with the walkout. Like for me, it took me a little bit to get used to walking out 800 pounds. Like I had to start thinking about my steps. I didn't have to do that with raw lifting. So I don't know. Like there probably is merit, but it's like you said, there's probably better ways to skin that cat.
Yeah.
Achieve your dreams.
Cool.
Finish it.
Where
do we get you? I need water.
Okay, well, Tim, thanks for coming on. We'll have you on again. What do you have to plug?
Plug in Team GPT.
Achieve your dreams.
Achieve your dreams. My wife, Jenna Donoghue, always
Hey.
been super supportive. And that's it. Those are all my plugs right now.
Don't you have a coaching Instagram?
Now we have to do this whole thing over again. Oh my god, I didn't record!
Oh, no.
Am I the first coach? You didn't?
No, I didn't.
I was going to say. You'd be way more pissed.
I'd be way more
if you
pissed.
didn't.
No, Stephanie, I think was first.
Yeah.
What's your coach Instagram?
You can follow me at Tim
Underscore.
_GPT on Instagram. I know that much. I'm not used to plugging myself. Is that the right term?
That's end with that. Definitely end with that.
I normally don't.